In this video, I'm going to teach you guys everything you need to know about Rarity, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is obviously open up a script. So now let's go ahead and start talking about what Rarity is. So basically all Rarity is the game picking a certain rarity that you want. So for example, let's say that we had common, we had uncommon, we had rare, we had epic, and then we had legendary. So all Rarity is us basically saying, okay, so common is going to be the one that gets picked the most. Uncommon will not be picked as much, and then rare, and then epic, and then obviously legendary, there'll be a very slim chance that it's going to get picked. So that's basically all Rarity is. Real quick guys, if you guys have been wanting to learn how to script on Roblox, check out the first link in the description. And obviously we can use Rarity for things like things inside of our game, but to do that we need to know how to actually kind of make Rarity work, right? So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys. So the very first thing we're going to want to do is we want to make a table of the rarities that we want. So for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and include these. So I'm going to say local rarity table, oops, no space, rarity table is equal to a table. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so now what we're going to do, guys, is we're basically going to start with common and then go all the way down to legendary. And we're going to assign each rarity a number value. And basically what I want to do is I want to have all these number values add up to 100 just to make it simple. So you could think of this number as kind of like a weight. So each rarity is going to have their own weight, and the higher it is, the more likely that it'll get picked, and the lower it is, the less likely that it'll get picked. So we can go ahead and start with common. So we can say common is equal to, let's do 60, comma. And then for uncommon, we could say uncommon is equal to, let's go ahead and do like 25, for example. And then we have, so rare here, this is going to equal, we can go ahead and do 10. So now 60 plus 25 plus 10 is equal to 95. So now epic will be equal to 4. Now it's at 99. And then legendary will be equal to 1. So now this all should add up to 100. So now we basically have a rarity table. So we're basically halfway done already. And obviously you guys can change these numbers to whatever you want. Just think of the number as like the percentage of the chance that this rarity will get picked. That's all you have to think of it like. Okay, so now that we have our rarity table, we need a function to actually pick one of the rarities. And what we can do actually is we can make a simple button that basically says like roll or something like that. And then each time we press it, it can go ahead and print out a rarity. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and make that GUI real quick. You guys can follow along if you want. Okay guys, so we went ahead and made our roll button right here, and I went ahead and moved our code over to a local script just so we have access to the player GUI so we can check when someone clicks our roll button. That doesn't really matter too much, so let's go ahead and get on to our function to actually pick one of these rarities out of the table. So we can name this function anything we want really, but I'm just going to go ahead and name it get rarity just to make it pretty simple. So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do this step, but it is kind of optional since I basically made it so that all of the weights, all these numbers here, they basically add up to 100. But let's say they didn't and you wanted to go ahead and, for example, let's say they added to like 150 or 50 or anything like that. We could still make it work like that, but what we would have to do is basically just add them up inside of the function. So we're going to do that anyways, even though we know it adds up to 100. So we're going to make a variable called local total weight. And we're going to set it to 0. Then we're basically just going to go ahead and loop through this rarity table and add all the weights to this variable. So we'll say underscore comma weight in rarity table do. And then we're just going to say total weight plus equals weight. Okay, so now we basically have our total weight here, so we know what it's going to be. And then let's go ahead and make a variable for our random roll. So what we're going to do is now that we have the total weight, we're going to go ahead and use math.random to basically come up with a number between 0 and whatever this total weight is. So we're going to say local roll is equal to math.random. We'll do 0, comma, total weight. And that's really all we need to do. So now we have a random number between 0 and 100. So this is basically all we're doing here. And now we're going to go ahead and loop through this table once more. But this time we're going to go ahead and include the name. We're going to say for name, comma, weight in rarity table do. And what I mean by including the name is this one actually includes the name too. It's just called underscore. But this time we're just simply putting the name to, well, name here. So now that we're going to go ahead and loop through this table again, what we're going to want to do is simply say roll minus equals weight. That's all we're going to do. So what this does basically is every time we loop to the rarity table, it doesn't actually loop in the same order every time. because this is technically not an array. The order is going to be random in how it loops through every time. So it could start at rare first, and then for the next time it could start at common, and the next time it could start at legendary. So after we went ahead and subtracted the weight from the roll, we're going to go ahead and say if roll is less than or equal to 0, and then we're going to go ahead and return the name, so whatever rarity it is. So this is probably very confusing, guys, and don't worry if it is. It just basically takes some understanding and practicing to get used to it. And this is basically the whole function here and how we get a rarity. And that's literally it. So that's literally it, guys. Basically, the only random part here is this part right here. So this is technically the random part where it's going to go ahead and give us a number between 0 and the total weight. And then after we get that, let's say it's 1, for example. And then we go ahead and go to the rarity table. The only way we're going to go ahead and get legendary as our rarity is if it first loops through the table and immediately goes to legendary, which is a 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chance. And if it doesn't, let's say it lands on common first, then 1 minus 60 is, well, definitely less than 0. So it returns common. So that's basically how it works, guys. This is the random part here. And all it's doing is it's saying, okay, now that we have a random number here, let's go ahead and loop to the table again and see what section that it basically is in. So let's say that it was equal to 1. Basically, any of these, if it landed on any of these, then any of these could technically work, right? Because 1 minus any of these are less than 0. So yeah, guys, this is basically how we go ahead and get our rarity here. If you guys need to go over this a lot, don't worry. Just go over it and you'll probably get the hang of it soon. But now that we have the function, we can go ahead and make it so every time we click this button, it goes ahead and rolls out a rarity for us. Okay, so now that we have the function, let's go ahead and say roll button dot activated connect to a function. And then every time we go ahead and click it, we'll say local rarity is equal to get rarity. And then we'll just print that rarity out. So we're going to go ahead and print rolled and then whatever rarity we get there. So let's go ahead and start out and press roll. So it says rolled uncommon, common. So it seems to be working pretty good. We're mostly getting common and some uncommons. And then we get an epic. And then we get a rare there. And I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling until I get... All right. And we got a legendary. There we go. So it took about, I don't know, maybe 50 tries to get a legendary. But yeah, guys, that's literally all rarity is everything that I explained in this video. This is all you need to know to go ahead and actually know what rarity is and implement it into your game. And there's so many other cool things you could do with this. Like, for example, if you wanted a like roll 50 times button, you can go ahead and do that. And then you can call this function 50 times and then store all those results in a table. And you could print those results out. And there's so many other cool things you can do with this. But this is basically the basics that you need to know. So yeah, guys, I hope this video helped you. And if it did, please subscribe. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.